Most people don't think about their kidneys. Not really. You think about your heart when your chest feels tight. You think about your lungs when breathing becomes hard. You think about your joints when they ache on a cold morning. But your kidneys? They work quietly, invisibly, without complaint, filtering your blood, balancing your fluids, clearing waste, all day, every day, year after year. And that silence is exactly what makes kidney damage so dangerous. By the time most people notice something is wrong, the swelling in the ankles, the persistent fatigue that sleep doesn't fix, the blood pressure that won't come down no matter what, significant damage has often already occurred. Slowly, over years, driven in large part by what was on the plate. Here is what the research is telling us with increasing clarity. After the age of 60, the kidneys become significantly more vulnerable to damage from diet and certain foods, some of which are present on the tables of millions of older adults every single day, are accelerating that damage in ways most people never suspect. But this is not just a story of warning, because the same body of research that identifies what harms the aging kidney also points clearly to what helps it recover, regenerate, and stay resilient. And that is the conversation we are going to have today. I'm Dr. Naira Stein, and kidney health in older adults is one of the areas I care about most deeply, precisely because it is one of the most neglected. In my years of working with seniors, I have seen the same story repeat itself too many times. A patient who was told their kidney function was declining, who had no idea that what they were eating every day was contributing to it. Nobody had ever explained the connection clearly. Nobody had ever told them that the choices on their dinner table were speaking directly to the health of those two quiet organs working tirelessly inside them. Today, I want to change that. I am going to walk you through 4 specific foods that research consistently links to kidney damage in adults over 60, and 4 foods that support kidney repair, reduce inflammation, and help these vital organs function better. Everything I share is grounded in current science and clinical evidence. I will always explain the mechanism, not just the conclusion, because you deserve to understand your own body. Let's begin. What happens to kidneys as we age? To understand why certain foods become harmful after 60, you first need a picture of what aging does to the kidneys themselves. At their peak, 2 healthy kidneys contain approximately 1 million tiny filtering units called nephrons. These microscopic structures work in concert to process around 180 liters of blood every single day, removing waste, regulating electrolytes, controlling fluid balance, and producing hormones that manage blood pressure and red blood cell production. After the age of 40, kidney function begins to decline gradually, roughly 1% per year. By 60, most people have meaningfully less functional kidney tissue than they did at 30. By 70, some studies estimate that kidney filtration capacity has dropped by as much as 30 to 50% in people who have not actively protected their kidney health. This decline matters for several reasons. Reduced filtration means waste products clear more slowly. Electrolytes like sodium, potassium, and phosphorus, which a younger kidney balances with ease, become harder to regulate. The kidney's ability to concentrate urine diminishes, making dehydration more likely. And the vascular system that feeds the kidneys, that intricate web of tiny blood vessels, becomes more vulnerable to damage from inflammation and high blood pressure. In this context, the foods that stress or inflame the kidney's vascular and filtration systems stop being merely not ideal. They become genuinely damaging. And the foods that reduce inflammation, support circulation, and lower the burden on these filters stop being merely healthy. They become protective medicine. 4 foods that are harming your kidneys. 1. Sodium-loaded processed and packaged foods. Salt is not the enemy. The human body needs sodium to survive. It governs fluid balance, nerve signaling, and muscle contraction. The problem is not sodium itself. The problem is the extraordinary, relentless quantity of sodium hiding inside the packaged, processed, and convenience foods that have become routine staples in the modern diet. The flood your kidneys didn't ask for. A single cup of canned soup can contain 800 to 1,200 milligrams of sodium, more than half the daily recommended limit in one modest bowl. A serving of flavored crackers, 400 milligrams. A portion of frozen dinner, 1,000 milligrams or more. Deli meats, bottled sauces, seasoning packets, pickled vegetables, bread. Sodium is everywhere, and it accumulates invisibly through the day. For the kidneys, this is a crisis in slow motion. The primary job of the kidney is to filter excess sodium out of the blood and excrete it through urine. When sodium intake is consistently high, the kidneys must work harder and longer to maintain balance. Over years, this chronic overload strains the delicate filtering structures, raises blood pressure, which itself damages the kidney's vascular network, and contributes to fluid retention that further stresses the entire system. Research published in the Journal of the American Society of Nephrology found that high dietary sodium was independently associated with faster progression of chronic kidney disease, even after controlling for blood pressure. This means sodium is not just indirectly harmful through blood pressure, it is directly harmful to kidney tissue. The most dangerous sodium is the kind you can't taste. Most people think they can judge their sodium intake by how salty food tastes. They can't. Sodium is used as a preservative and texture agent in quantities that disguise themselves entirely behind other flavors. A sweet barbecue sauce, a tangy salad dressing, a savory cracker, all extraordinarily high in sodium and none tasting particularly salty. What to do instead? Cook from whole, fresh ingredients whenever possible. You control the salt. Choose low sodium or no salt added canned goods and rinse them before use. Replace salt-heavy seasonings with herbs, citrus, garlic, and spices. Read nutrition labels and aim for under 600 milligrams sodium per serving in any packaged food 02. Processed meats, the daily damage most people miss. Bacon at breakfast, deli turkey in a sandwich at lunch, a hot dog or sausage at dinner. For many people, processed meat appears in some form at almost every meal, and for the aging kidney, this frequency is deeply consequential. 3 ways processed meat attacks the kidney. The harm from processed meat operates through 3 distinct pathways, each damaging in its own right, and all 3 compounding each other. First, the protein load. Meat protein, when metabolized, produces nitrogenous waste products, primarily urea and creatinine, that the kidneys must filter and excrete. In a young, healthy kidney with full filtering capacity, this is managed without difficulty. In an aging kidney with diminished nephron function, a consistently high protein load from processed meat pushes the filtration system toward overwork. Studies have shown that diets high in animal protein accelerate the decline of kidney function in people with already reduced kidney capacity, a population that includes a significant proportion of adults over 60, most of whom don't know it. Second, the sodium content. Processed meats are among the highest sodium foods available. A single serving of bacon contains 400 to 600 milligrams of sodium. 2 slices of deli ham, 600 milligrams. A standard sausage link, up to 500 milligrams. Combined with other sodium sources throughout the day, processed meat consumption alone can push sodium intake well beyond safe limits for aging kidneys. Third, phosphorus additives. This is the factor most people have never heard of, and it may be the most insidious. To enhance flavor, extend shelf life, and improve texture, food manufacturers add phosphate compounds, inorganic phosphorus, to virtually all processed meats. Unlike the natural phosphorus found in whole foods, which is only partially absorbed, these synthetic phosphate additives are absorbed into the bloodstream at rates approaching 100%. The kidneys must then excrete this excess. In an aging kidney, this burden accelerates a dangerous condition called hyperphosphatemia, elevated blood phosphorus, which damages blood vessels, weakens bones, and drives cardiovascular complications. When I explain the phosphate additive issue to patients, most are genuinely shocked. They had no idea that the very compounds used to keep processed meat looking fresh and tasting savory were placing such a specific and serious burden on their kidneys. This is not information that appears on the front of food packaging. You have to look at the ingredient list and know what you're reading. 03 dark colas and phosphoric acid drinks. This one surprises people. It is not the sugar in dark-colored sodas that poses the greatest risk to kidney health, though excess sugar has its own damaging effects. It is a specific ingredient called phosphoric acid, which is added to colas to create their characteristic sharp, tangy bite. The phosphoric acid problem. Phosphoric acid is highly bioavailable, meaning it is absorbed rapidly and completely into the bloodstream. A single can of cola contains a meaningful dose of inorganic phosphorus, delivered in liquid form, which reaches the bloodstream faster than any food-based source. For aging kidneys already struggling to manage phosphorus balance, this represents a concentrated chemical stress delivered in minutes. A landmark study from Brigham and Women's Hospital, following over 3,000 participants, found that drinking 2 or more cola beverages per day was associated with a doubling of the risk of chronic kidney disease, even after accounting for other variables, including diabetes and hypertension. The association was specific to dark colas containing phosphoric acid. It was not observed with non-cola carbonated beverages. Beyond phosphorus, the caffeine in colas acts as a mild diuretic, which can contribute to dehydration, a significant risk factor for kidney stone formation and impaired filtration. And the high fructose corn syrup in regular colas drives uric acid production, which deposits in the kidneys and contributes to gout-related kidney damage. Dr. Stein's note, diet colas are not a safe alternative in this context. While they eliminate the sugar and fructose, they retain the phosphoric acid, which is the primary mechanism of kidney harm. Switching from regular to diet cola reduces caloric intake, but does not meaningfully reduce the kidney burden from phosphates. 4. High-potassium foods in the wrong context. This section requires the most nuance on this list, because potassium is not inherently harmful. In a healthy body, potassium is essential. It regulates heart rhythm, supports muscle function, and counteracts the blood pressure-raising effects of sodium. For most people, eating more potassium is actively beneficial. The problem arises specifically in people with reduced kidney function, which, as established earlier, describes a far larger proportion of the over 60 population than most realize. When a healthy mineral becomes a hidden danger. When kidney function is compromised, the ability to excrete excess potassium slows significantly. Potassium then accumulates in the blood, a condition called hyperkalemia, and the consequences are serious. At elevated levels, potassium interferes with the electrical signals that govern the heart. Irregular heartbeat, weakness, and in severe cases, cardiac arrest can result. The high potassium foods most likely to cause problems for people with declining kidney function include salt substitutes, which often contain potassium chloride in very concentrated forms, large portions of bananas, oranges, and orange juice, potatoes and tomatoes, dried fruits, nuts and seeds in large quantities, and dairy products in excess. This is not a call to eliminate these foods for everyone. They are genuinely nutritious for people with healthy kidney function. It is a call to awareness. If you are over 60, if you have been told your kidney function is reduced, if you have diabetes or hypertension, please have a conversation with your doctor about your potassium levels before consuming these foods in large amounts. One of the most well-intentioned errors I see in patients managing blood pressure is the heavy use of salt substitutes, products that replace sodium with potassium chloride. For someone with declining kidney function, this swap can be genuinely dangerous. It solves one problem while creating another. Always discuss this with your physician. 4 foods that help your kidneys heal now. For the part of this conversation that deserves equal emphasis, because the story of kidney health is not just one of damage, it is also one of remarkable resilience. The kidneys respond to supportive nutrition. Inflammation can be reduced. Vascular health can improve. Filtration function, while it cannot be fully reversed, can be meaningfully stabilized and protected. These 4 foods are where that story begins. 1. Cauliflower, the kidney's quiet champion. Cauliflower may not be the most glamorous vegetable in the produce aisle, but for kidney health in older adults, it earns a place of remarkable importance. It is low in potassium, low in phosphorus, and low in sodium, which means it nourishes the body without placing measurable strain on the kidney's filtering burden. What makes it so protective? Beyond its low burden on filtration, cauliflower contains a range of active compounds, including indoles, glucosinolates, and vitamin C, that have demonstrated anti-inflammatory properties in clinical research. Chronic inflammation is one of the primary drivers of kidney damage and functional decline, and foods that calm inflammatory pathways at the cellular level help protect the fragile structures of the nephron. Cauliflower is also rich in fiber, which plays an indirect but powerful role in kidney protection by binding to waste products in the gut, including urea, and facilitating their elimination through the digestive tract rather than through the kidneys. This reduces the total filtration burden and gives the kidneys meaningful relief. It is one of the most versatile vegetables available. Roasted, steamed, mashed as a low-potassium potato substitute, blended into soups, or eaten raw with hummus. One generous serving of cauliflower several times a week provides measurable protective benefit without asking the kidneys to work harder. For patients who have been told to reduce potassium, cauliflower mashed with a small amount of olive oil and garlic is an excellent substitute for traditional mashed potatoes, satisfying, nourishing, and dramatically lower in potassium. Most people are surprised by how much they enjoy it. 02 Blueberries, antioxidant medicine for the aging kidney. If you had to choose one fruit to protect kidney health in older adults, the weight of research would point you toward blueberries. These small, deeply pigmented berries contain one of the highest concentrations of antioxidants measured in any food, particularly a class of compounds called anthocyanins, which give them their distinctive dark color and extraordinary biological activity. The oxidative stress connection. Chronic kidney disease and kidney aging are both characterized by high levels of oxidative stress, an imbalance between damaging free radical molecules and the body's ability to neutralize them. This oxidative environment damages the cells lining the kidney's filtration units, accelerates nephron loss, and drives inflammation throughout the renal vascular system. Anthocyanins from blueberries cross directly into kidney tissue, where they act as potent antioxidants, neutralizing free radicals, calming inflammatory signaling, and protecting the delicate cellular membranes of the nephrons. Multiple animal studies have shown that blueberry supplementation reduced oxidative kidney damage and slowed disease progression. Human studies are increasingly supportive. Regular consumption of berries rich in anthocyanins is associated with slower decline in kidney function over time in older adults. Importantly for kidney health specifically, blueberries are naturally low in potassium, phosphorus, and sodium, placing minimal burden on filtration while delivering maximum protective benefit. 1 cup of fresh or frozen blueberries provides a meaningful daily dose of these protective compounds. Frozen blueberries are just as effective as fresh, often more so because they are typically frozen immediately after harvest at peak antioxidant concentration. Keep a bag in the freezer year-round. Add them to oatmeal, blend into a smoothie with almond milk, or simply thaw a small bowl as an evening snack. Consistency is what builds protection over time. 03. Olive oil, liquid anti-inflammation for the renal system. Extra virgin olive oil is one of the most studied foods in human nutrition, with a body of evidence spanning decades and tens of thousands of participants. For kidney health specifically, its benefits operate through mechanisms that are particularly relevant to the aging body. Oleocanthal, polyphenols, and the inflammatory cascade. The primary active compound in high-quality extra virgin olive oil is oleocanthal, a natural phenolic compound that functions as a COX inhibitor, working through a similar anti-inflammatory mechanism to ibuprofen, but without the gastrointestinal or renal side effects. Chronic low-grade inflammation in the kidney's vascular network is one of the primary drivers of progressive nephron loss. Oleocanthal and the broader polyphenol content of olive oil help to interrupt this inflammatory cascade at the cellular level. Olive oil also provides oleic acid, a monounsaturated fat that improves lipid profiles, reduces LDL oxidation, and supports the integrity of blood vessel walls, including the delicate microvascular network that feeds the kidney. Healthy renal vasculature means better oxygen delivery, better nutrient supply, and better waste clearance. Furthermore, unlike saturated fats that contribute to arterial stiffness and elevated blood pressure, a leading cause of kidney damage, olive oil actively supports vascular flexibility. The PREDIMED trial, one of the largest dietary intervention studies ever conducted, found that olive oil consumption was associated with significantly reduced risk of major cardiovascular and renal complications in high-risk older adults. The key phrase is extra virgin. It indicates minimal processing that preserves the polyphenol content. Light olive oil, regular olive oil, or olive oil blends have undergone refinement that strips most of these active compounds. 2 tablespoons of genuine extra virgin olive oil daily, used as your primary cooking fat or drizzled over vegetables and whole grains, is a simple, evidence-backed habit. 4. Water, the most underutilized kidney therapy of all. It may seem too simple to place on this list. It is not a food with exotic compounds or a complex mechanism of action. But no discussion of kidney protective nutrition is complete without an honest, direct conversation about water, because chronic, low-grade dehydration is one of the most common and correctable contributors to declining kidney function in older adults. Why older adults are chronically dehydrated, and what it costs. The thirst mechanism weakens with age. This is not a lifestyle choice. It is a physiological fact. Older adults simply do not feel thirsty as reliably as younger people do, even when the body is in genuine need of fluid. At the same time, many medications commonly prescribed to seniors, diuretics, certain blood pressure drugs, antihistamines, increase fluid losses. The result is that a significant proportion of older adults are consistently, chronically mildly dehydrated, without ever feeling thirsty. For the kidneys, this matters enormously. Adequate hydration maintains the volume of fluid flowing through the nephrons, allowing waste products and toxins to be diluted and cleared efficiently. In a dehydrated state, urine becomes concentrated, waste products accumulate, and the filtration structures are exposed to higher concentrations of potentially damaging compounds for longer periods. Kidney stones, which become more common after 60, form precisely in this concentrated urine environment. Beyond stone prevention, studies have shown that consistent, adequate hydration slows the progression of chronic kidney disease, reduces the incidence of urinary tract infections that can scar kidney tissue, and maintains blood volume in ways that support blood pressure regulation. The goal for most older adults is approximately 1.5 to 2 liters of fluid daily, adjusted for body size, activity, climate, and medication use. Rather than waiting to feel thirsty, build hydration into your daily routine. A glass of water upon waking, one with each meal, and one in the early evening. Herbal teas count. Water-rich foods like cucumber, lettuce, and watermelon contribute. What doesn't count? Alcohol, which is dehydrating, and excess caffeine in large quantities. If your urine is pale yellow, your kidneys are getting what they need. Dark yellow is a warning sign worth heeding. Changing how you eat doesn't require a complete overhaul of your kitchen or your life. In my experience, the most durable dietary changes are also the most gradual. Small, deliberate replacements that compound over weeks and months into a fundamentally different pattern. Here is a practical way to begin. Check. This week, identify the single greatest source of processed sodium in your diet, the canned soup, the deli meat, the packaged seasoning, and find one whole food replacement. Check mark. Next week, add a daily cup of blueberries, fresh or frozen, as a consistent habit. Morning oatmeal, afternoon snack, evening dessert. Find a time that sticks. Check. By week 3, audit your hydration. Track your fluid intake for 3 days. Most people discover they are drinking significantly less than they thought. Check. By week 4, replace processed meat in your regular rotation with fresh fish, legumes, or eggs, not as a permanent prohibition, but as a meaningful shift in proportion. These are not dramatic changes, but over months, their cumulative effect on kidney function, blood pressure, inflammation, and overall vitality is measurable and meaningful. Your kidneys have been working for you since before you took your first breath. They have filtered decades of meals, managed years of stress, adapted to illness and medication, and every change your body has moved through. They are extraordinary organs, and like all extraordinary things, they respond profoundly to care. The science is not ambiguous on this point. Diet shapes kidney aging. The foods that create inflammation, that overload filtration, that stress the vascular network, they accelerate decline. The foods that calm inflammation, that reduce the burden, that protect the blood vessels feeding these organs, they slow it. The direction matters, and you have meaningful influence over that direction, starting today. You do not need to be a nutritionist. You do not need a perfect diet. You need awareness, which you now have, and consistency, which is simply a decision, renewed each day. Small changes, made with intention and maintained over time, are not small at all. They are the architecture of how we age. I'm Dr. Naira Stein. Take care of your kidneys. They have never stopped taking care of you.